Al Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Menahot, Daf Yomi, Daf Lamed Gimel, 33, Lag, right? Daf Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. We're starting with 33a. We're going to be speaking about today beautiful halachot of the mitzvah of mezuzah. Now, we already just mentioned, right, that since there's a mitzvah le'anicha betefach hasamuch lirshut harabim, I would have thought to say the kamad benachik maleh. Kamashmalan, it has to be in the halal hapetach. Halal hapetach means that it has to be within the halal. So right there where Ronen is over there, that is called the halal. Halal means that the, how do you call it? I don't know, the empty space within the space. Yeah, in the doorpost of the actual, meaning it has to be in that halal. It cannot be on the outside, it cannot be on the other side. So now says the Gemara, kitaba al shnei dapin. What happens if you wrote the mezuzah on two amudim? Meaning chetzi on one, chetzi on the other. Psula, it has to be on one page, like one paper. Meitve, so we're going to ask a question. What happens if you went and you wrote it on two dapin and then you put it on two mezuzot of the petach? It's going to be psula. But if it's mashma that you put it on one part of the petach, it's going to be keshera. So it's mashma that you could do it on two pages, but just put it on the same side of the doorpost. So answers the Gemara, Re'uya lishne sipin kaman. What does that mean? The Tana, when he said that you put it on shne sipin, he was not coming and telling you that mamash you put it on two chelkei mezuzah and two mezuzot nifradot. But rather the kavanah was that if it was written in a mezuzah, that ki'ilu you could do it as two mezuzot nifradot on the petach, which means that it was written on two on one paper, right? But it was two amudim, that there was a how do you call it? That there was an empty space in between. So technically, I could have cut it in the middle, and then you could have had two papers, right? That's what it means. That it was ki'ilu, I could make two papers, but really, by minute, it's one paper. But you need one paper on the mezuzah. Ve'amar David Amar Shmuel. It says in Shmuel, there's a fifth halacha. B'mezuzah halach achar heket tzir. To do with the halachot of mezuzah, we always go after heket tzir, right? That's basically where the hinges are. How does the door open up? What does that mean? My heket tzir. Amar Rav Ada avakta. What does that mean? The chor b'miftan, the hole in the doorpost, right, or b'mishkof, or in the mashkof. Shatzir nichnas bo v'soveh betucho. You got the picture there, where you see in the picture the heket tzir. Where is the door opening up, to the outside or to the inside? Here, by the way, I always did want to ask. I never got a real answer. That here it's very, very problematic. Why? Because the purpose is that the heket tzir is showing you which direction the door is going. Correct? So therefore, if it's going the inside, so obviously it's to go inside. The problem is, for example, here, right, in Miami, because of hurricane, what happens is by law, you have to come in that all the doors open to the outside. Because if it was going to go to the inside, it comes a hurricane and boom, it just breaks open the door. So therefore, if it's going to be a hurricane and the doors open up to the outside, the pressure is pushing in, not pushing out. So by law, you have to have the doors going to the outside. You understand? So the question is, what happens if by law it's like that? It's not going to show you. So basically, it's a siman or siba. Is it just showing you where exactly is how the door is coming in and out, or not? So let's see exactly. So he says over here, Kigon, Pitcha de ben bet trebate. For example, the entrance between two different houses, ben bei gavre le benashe, or between a beta gvarim and beta nashim. So basically, again, one more time, here you've got a huge footnote, and the kavanah is going to be what exactly is the ikar room, right? Because basically, if you have inside the house and it's going one way, so means that's the ikar going into where you're going. So therefore, so. For example, let's say you're going to say, yeah, but Rabbi, I go inside and outside, and it's almost the same. So I tell you, heker tzir. How does the door open up? Does the door open up towards the inside or towards the outside? Now again, outside of the house is a little bit different. Resh Kaluta beita. So the Resh Kaluta came and he built a house. V'amar le Rav Nachman. So he came and he told Rav Nachman, "Kvali mezuzata. Come put me a mezuzah." Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman comes and he says, "Tali dasha bereisha." First put the mezuzata petach, and afterwards I'm going to put the mezuzah. Meaning, first put the how do you call it again? The doorpost, right? And after putting the doorpost, now I'm going to come and I'm going to put the mezuzah. So Amar Rav Yudam Rav Asa'a kimi neged. What happens right now if you made it like a neged? What does that mean? That you're putting how do you say it in English? Neged is how do you call this? You put it inside of it, lying down, right? You have the picture there. Look, yeah, vertical. Yeah, vertical. Yeah, vertical. Right? So you come and he says it's going to be pisula. You've got the picture there actually. Look in the Gemara in Rashi. You have the picture. You see the dome. So right, it's going to be lying down. So says the Gemara, any is it so? But Yosef, Amar kulam mezuzat dverav. All of them like kiminega. We're all doing like that. So he pitcha de'al be Rebbe lebe midrasha. There was a petach that he went from the into the bet midrash. Lo avel mezuzah. Didn't have a mezuzah. So says the Gemara, it's not a question. Ha Davida sikta. So you kasikta. Well, one of them you're making like the neged, which means that he says it's going to be pasul. Okay, because when you did the mezuzah in such a way, v'hadavida kistevira. Another one you're doing it like kemin nagar, which means that you're doing it like the shuk kavua b'mkom chiburo b'regel ha'krasul danu ba'amida. You're doing it upwards. צורת חיבור בין שוק והרגל. Okay, so it's דהיינו שנקבע חצייה בנייה, חצייה בשכיבה. So it's like a nun. You're doing like a nun. Look at the picture. Look at the picture on the bottom. It's the bottom picture there. You see that it looks like a nun? Yeah? Everyone sees it in the bottom. Yeah, doctor, you see it? Yeah. There, that one on the bottom. Okay, it's like a nun. Right? That means basically you're doing part of it straight and part of it lying down. So any, yeah, that's what he just said. So he says, any is it so, right? It did have a mezuzah. So first of all, we had a question that beforehand, we just said that if it goes into the Bet Midrash, there's no mezuzah. And here they're saying there is a mezuzah. Are you listening? Yeah. So answers the Gemara, yes. Hahu ragil hava. So he comes and he says, that was ragil. What does it mean now, ragil? So he comes and he says, huh? Hahu ragilava. What does that mean? That petach, which was regilim ishtamesh bo, right? The majority of the people were going to go into the Bet Midrash, were coming inside, and therefore it's going to be chayav b'mezuzah. Damar v'damar rav b'mezuzah halacha char ragil, which means that you're going to go always after the ragil. Which means if you have two different entrances to the room, you always put it in the petach sheregilim yoter latzet v'lavobo. Right, the main one. V'ilu b'mikra shel Rebbe, the majority of people wouldn't go to that way. So therefore, they didn't put a mezuzah because basically that was considered like a petach zadi that only Rebbe would go into it, and it's a bit of midrash. So therefore, obviously, he was different. Okay. Amar Bizera, Amar Matra Amar Shmuel, mitzvah lanicha betchilat shlish alyon. So this is until today the halacha. The halacha is you have to place it betchilat shlish ha'elyon. Okay, which means the top third. ורב אמר מגביה מן הקרקע טפח ומרחיק מן הקורה טפח וכל הפתח כולו כאשר מזוזה. But according to Rav Huna, he says no. You have to bring it from the floor one tefach. You also cannot do it from the mashkof one tefach. So you don't do it close to the floor one tefach or to the roof, not the roof, like the top of the doorpost, right? One tefach. But everything else is going to be kosher. So ask the Gemara, mate, we were going to ask a question. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosef argues and he says, why is there a smichut? Why is there a kesh? Right? Basically, we're making a smichut between ukshartam uchtavtam. So he says, makshida bagova afktiva bagova. Just like when you're doing the mitzvah of tefillin, it has to be begova shel rosho. Right? That means it's not going to be on his eyes or whatever it is. It's going to be on the top of the head. So too the ktiva of the mezuzah should be on the top. It should be too much towards the mashkof. It's not going to be on the bottom. Right? Imagine if we went like the halacha of the first shita of Rabbi Yehuda. You know what you could do? Put a mezuzah right here. Why? It's above a tefach. Right here. You're going to tell me I can put it here, put it here, put it here, put it anywhere. Why? Because the entire thing is kosher other than the bottom tefach and the top tefach. How do you understand that? So says the Gemara, Bisham al Rav Huna. I understand according to Rav Huna, he says like Rabbi Yehuda. So Rav Huna is shitat Rabbi Yehuda. That basically you have to distance a tefach from the bottom, tefach from the top, and kol hashar is a kasher. But according to Shemuel, who does he go like? The man Kamar. He's not going like Rabbi Yehuda. He's not going like Rabbi Yosef. So he says, Amar Rav Huna b'Reb Natan leolam Rabbi Yosef. Really, be'emet, he does say that it's like Rabbi Yosef. That means you have to do a begova shel petach. Lamegim lamubet 33b. Umay betchilat shlish alyon. So what does it mean then? The beginning of the shlish alyon, tekamar learchika, that you have to be marchik from the mashkof. Shelo learchika min hakora shel mala yoter mishlish. What does that mean? You shouldn't distance it more than a shlish from the top, which means that don't put it less than a third from the top. Okay, that's what you have to do it. So Amar Rava, right? So besides that, and remember that's halacha that you have to put it in shlish alyon, right? He comes and he says, Amar Rava mitzvah lanicha betefach hasemuch lirshut rabim. There's also a mitzvah to put it in the tefach, which is close to the reshut harabim. My tama, what's the reasoning? Rabbanan amre, because the rabbis say, kedesh yifga b'mezuzah miyad. Meaning, it should, let's say, sometimes, they have it in many different places. I've got a very long corridor, and that's the entrance of my house. So the question is, where should I put the mezuzah? At the beginning or towards the end, which is right before my house? Right? And that is all my tzurat tapet, meaning like that's all the frame of my house. So he comes and he says at the beginning, why? Because it has to be samuch la reshut rabim. My time out's reasoning. Why? Because we want that immediately you see the mezuzah. We want it to be shomer on the entire house. So if we want it to be shomer on the entire house, well, you don't need shmirah at the beginning. You need the shmirah at the beginning. So it has to be the tefach hasamuch l'reshut rabim. Amar bi Chanina bore shelo k'midat HaKadosh Baruch Hu midah b'zav adam. Let's see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like a human being. Midah b'zav adam is a human being. HaMelech yoshev b'fnim, the king is going to be on the inside. Va'am meshamnim oto b'chutz, and the people are watching over him on the outside. Midat HaKadosh Baruch Hu eno ken b'dah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like that. Avadav yoshvim b'fnim, right? The servants are going to be on the inside. Vehu meshamram b'chutz, and he's watching over them on the outside. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Shomer Daltot Israel. He is watching over the Jews on the outside. And therefore it's something incredible. Shneimar, but says the Pasuk, Adonai Shomerecha, Adonai Tzilecha, Al Yad Yaminecha. Right? That's what we actually come and we say, Al Yad Yaminecha is a remes to the mezuzah that is always going to be B'tzad Yamin. So therefore, obviously, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to protect us on the outside. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like a regular human being. Tarash Rav Yosef bered Rava, Mishmeh de Rava. So Rav Yosef comes, the son of Rava, and he said in the name of his father Rava, He'emik la tefach pesula. If you made a hole inside of the doorway and you put it more than a tefach inside, it's pasul. So therefore, that's even though many times, by the way, you should know this is the lechatchila that they should do it flush, right? You know, sometimes, for example, you open up the door, right? So you can't do it on the outside because if there's no frame, so how do you do it? So if there's no frame and you open up the door and it's all flush, so you don't put it right there on the door like this. You open up the door. You should have it in the inside. Now, how do they do it? They do it that they would actually like make a hole, right, inside, and it's going to be on the inside of it. Okay, so he comes and he says, so if you're doing that, but if you're going to make a tefach, which is in depth, if it's going to be more than a tefach depth, it's going to be pasul. So so why don't we just say hanicha bepatzin? If you're going to put it inside of the korah, or shetaleh aleh melben, or you put a brick. Im yesham tefach, if it's got a tefach, it's going to be you need another mezuzah. V'im lav, and if not, so therefore there's no tefach, meaning that there's not going to be a tefach of the thing. If it's going to be less than a tefach, you don't need another mezuzah. So kitanya benogea, right? We're talking about a petach sheomen me'achorei hadelet. We're talking about that it's going to be me'achorei hadelet. What does that mean? That it's behind the door, right? Look in the picture. There's a famous thing that, for example, this is, by the way, me'achorei hadelet. By the way, look on this door. It's me'achorei hadelet. Why is it me'achorei hadelet? Because the mezuzah is behind the door, right? Everyone sees it. Look at the mezuzah right here on the wall. The mezuzah right there, that's me'achorei hadelet. Because on the other side, it's flushed. So where are you going to put it? You can't put the mezuzah on the outside. So therefore, when you open it up, it's going to be there. That's called me'achorei hadelet. Okay? So ha behedya ktani, we already learned. Petach she'achorei hadelet. Im yesh lam tefach tzarich mezuzah acheret. Im lav eno tzarich mezuzah acheret. So he says ketz ktani. You're right. The question is, how do you do it? So Tana, we already learned Mila malben. If you're going to put a mizgeret of kanim, right, which is chalul, chotech, you're just going to cut one of them. Shvoferet umanichan. You put it over there. Meaning you just cut the area and you just put the mezuzah right there. Okay? So Amar Rav Acha bered Rava. That's only if you actually put it there and then you cut it and you placed it. But if you first cut it and you placed it and afterwards you put the kaneh, so then it's going to be pasul. Why? Remember that you always have to make, you cannot do the mitzvah when it's already there, which means like this. Right now, when you put it, it wasn't a doorway because you didn't finish the doorway. Now you put the mezuzah. Now after you finish the doorway, now you're chayav in mezuzah. So that's called ta'aseh velo minasu. You have to do it, not that it's done on its own. It's like the sukkah, right? That, for example, it starts raining or starts snowing. So what do? I come and I'm building the sukkah. I finished already the sukkah. And before putting up the schach, it starts raining. So what do? I put over a rain cover. And then I come and I do the schach. When you put on the schach, it's pasul. Now all of a sudden it stops raining. I open up the rain cover. When I open up the rain cover, I just made it kasher. So it's called ta'aseh velo mina asui. You have to make it. It cannot be done on its own. Okay? Rava says, "Hi pitche shimae." Right? These ptachim mekulkalim or pturim mean a mezuzah. They're going to be pturim from the mezuzah. So he says, what does that mean? My pitche shimae. Pligi bar Rav Rechum Rav Yosef chadamar delep letikra. There's no tikra, but if it doesn't have a mashkof, so there's no mezuzah. Or some people say they don't have mezuzot. Remember, you have the mashkof. The mashkof is the top beam. I don't know. It's all called doorposts. I don't know how you want to call it, but in English. But the lentil. So the lentil. Okay. So the lentil on the top, and then you have the doorposts on the sides. Right? Yeah. So he comes and he says, right, that he comes and he says like this. So he comes and he says like this. So Amar Rabba Barshila Amar Chastav Sadra is going to be ptura mina mezuzah. Why? Because they're not going to have mezuzot, right? And therefore it's not considered a petach. Okay? Ha sheish la petzimim, but if it does have the mezuzot and the ruach ravit, so you're going to be chayav. So says the Gemara, no, the reason why you did that was because of chizuk tikrahu David, because you only did it just to strengthen the roof. So says the Gemara, you're right. Tachi kamar. Afal pi sheyesh al petzimin. Even if it does have petzimin, petura, it's going to be petura she'ena svina lechizuk tira, because it's only going to be right just to strengthen. It's meaning you didn't do it there as an entrance. You only did it there just to strengthen right the roof. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, Amar Abaye, Chazina Leuli splitted the Berma. We saw on a sadraut of the house of Mor, of Rav, that it's got petzim and it doesn't have mezuzah. So Kasavar, obviously, he held that it was going to be for the Chizuk Tikra Davide. So Meitve, we have a question. Bet Shar and Achsadra Mirpeset, all of them are chayvim mezuzah. So a person has a bet shar. Bet shar is basically like a watch house, right? That they used to do at the beginning, or an achsadra, or a mirpeset, which is going to be again. This is like the mizaron and all these places. So chayvim mezuzah midrabanan. So answers the Gemara, we're talking about an achsadra de verav, which means that it had arba defanot, which are very very low, that they don't go until the tikra. Meaning it's like basically it's like I don't know how you would explain it. It's like a low wall, but the walls don't actually get to the roof. So since they don't actually get to a roof and it's like an open area, but they have walls, but it's just very low walls. So therefore, that's why he says that you're not going to be chayav. Achsadar dve rav ki indura melyatahu. Says 1 second, but the achsadar bet midrash was a full room, right? So obviously it's going to be chayav in a mezuzah. So he says the achsadar romita. Achsadar romita is going to be covered, but they've got a lot of windows around. So therefore, since it's going to be a lot of windows, I would have thought to say it's patsur mezuzah, because since it's got so many windows, it doesn't have walls. Like Kilu, there's no walls. It's all windows. The majority is all windows. So you're still going to be chayav. So Amar Rachva Amar Rav Yuda, Bei Harzike is also chayav mishte mezuzot. What is Bei Harzike? Amar Papa Saba Mishmedra Bet Shar Patuach Lechatzer Ubatim Petuchim LeBet Shar. So you've got a Bet Shar which is open to a courtyard, and the houses are open to the Bet Shar. So this Bet Shar needs 2 mezuzot. One at the entrance of the Be'erzike and one at the entrance of the Be'erzike to the houses themselves. Okay? I think you have a picture there. No, it's not the same one. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita also. Bet Shar patuach legina ul kitonit. When you have a Bet Shar which is going to be open, whether it's going to be to a gina or kitonit, Rabbi Yosef omer nidon lekitoniot v'chachamim omerim nidon kebet shar. It's going to be like a Bet Shar. So Rav Shmuel Damri Tavaihu ben gina lebayit. When we're talking about a gina to the bayit, kulei lo plige de chayav. We're going to say that it's going to be chayav. My tamot's reasoning beyond the bayit because at the end of the day it's going to be mishuash for the bayit. So keep plige when it's a machloket mi bayit legina. When it's talking about from the bayit to the gina, more savar kitonit ikar, more savar gina is going to be the ikar. Rabbi Rav Yosef Damri Tavaihu in a bayit legina. Right? He says everyone is going to agree that it's going to be patur, right? That the petach from the bite to the gina is going to be patur. Why? Because obviously the ikar is going to be the bite and not the bet shar. My tama pitcha the gina, because it's the entrance of the gina. So kipligi when there's a machloket from the gina to the bite. But more savar, he says you're coming into the house. If you're coming into the house, you're obligated in the mezuzah. More savar, and the other one holds kula. Right? Adaita the gina David. You're only doing it because of the gina, meaning you're only protecting the gina, but not any other reason. We're going to just finish until the 2 dots, where it says over here, or not the 2 dots, but until the hilchata. Abaye Rav Avri Rabbi Yosef. So Abaye and Rav they did like Rabbi Rav Yosef, and therefore they said that it's going to be patur from the entrance of the gina from the mezuzah when they can't see this v'tocha gina. And according to Rav Ashi, he did like Rav and Shmuel that you're going to be chayav lechumra. So hilchata is going to be like Rav and Shmuel that you have to do it lechumra.